I describe the freeway in the city in the United States as a failed experiment, right? It had never been done before, right? This idea of building such a vast highway system and cutting it through, like, that hadn't existed. And for the most part, it failed us. It failed neighborhoods and cities. And so we should learn from that. The success of 21st century cities is gonna rely on learning from the mistakes of the 20th century. And this is one of them.
The Highways to Boulevard movement is basically the analog of the protest movement in the 40s and 50s, where in a lot of cities like San Francisco and Boston, those cities were the ones that were able to maintain a lot of their urbanism because they had protest against freeways. Now we're getting to the next stage where, after living with these things for 50 years, people realize how destructive they are.
You've destroyed the social fabric of communities. You've separated parishioners from their churches. You've separated families on one side of the expressway to the other side. You know, you've gone through the middle of communities. So, you know, for example, Oak Park, just on the western edge of Chicago. You know, half of Oak Park is on one side of the expressway and the other half is on the other side. So that kind of dislocation and disconnection is some of the results of having, you know, highways just go A to B in a straight line without consequences. Now, Treme was traditionally a black community. It's a community where Louis Armstrong came from, and it was, you know, a lot of local entrepreneurs were on Claiborne Expressway. And so now you go and, yeah, there's still businesses there, but it's not the same vitality, it's not the same viable community that it was before that expressway arrived.
You lost families, you lost friends, you lost relatives, you lost because people got displaced. The first thing I would be concerned about is how we preserve the people who have fought, bled, and died and stayed through all of the pollution that bridge has created, all of the discomfort that it has created.
Along the bridge from Claiborne and Orleans all the way down to St. Bernard Street, before the bridge got built here, they would have homes and business, black businesses all along the way. They had nightclubs, they had barrooms, they had restaurants, they had funeral homes, they had shoe repairs. They had every kind of business that you could name, but they was all black owned.
How is the bridge important today, and how do people feel about the bridge now?
I've been there before. It's like a lot of violence there. Every time you look around on Mardi Gras, things have changed. Like, people have guns, lots of violence and lots of fighting and stuff going on. Like, lots of trash, like, it's chaos out there. I see the bridge as a flaw in this community, because when they had trees, it was more peaceful, the community came together. In my own opinion, I do believe they should tear the bridge down.
At the time, it was praised. You know, everybody from the New York Times said, you know, this is, you know, the interstate is going to give a new perspective on the river. You know, cruising along in the interstate, you're going to have this grand view of the mighty Mississippi that no one's had before. So you have a 3-block area that's a trench, kind of like in downtown Cincinnati, and there are 4 crossings, 4 streets that cross it with sidewalks and traffic lanes. But the real problem is that 5 blocks on either side of that, you have this transition area. So it goes from the south, it's an elevated interstate. It transitions over the course of about 5 blocks, presenting a wall. So if you go to Busch Stadium, see the Cardinals play, walk straight towards the Arch Grounds, you run into an interstate wall, and there's nowhere to go. You simply can't go anywhere. So you have 5 blocks that are just a complete wall, 4 blocks that have overpasses, 5 blocks that are a complete wall, and then you have another crossing all the way at the other end of the park. And so the idea would put this at an at-grade boulevard and actually open up, you know, those old connections. And so instead of having 4, you would have, you know, 9 or 10. You know, we're tired of letting everyone drive through our city and not contribute to the city. And there is a budding realization that the Arch Grounds project, including the riverfront and putting in interstates, has been detrimental to the city. You know, when the Arch was built, we had 800,000 residents and we have 300,000 now. And that's not the fault of the arch or the interstate, but it's the fault of our urban planning at the time, which was, not atypical. Let's give access to as many people as possible. The more freeways we have, the more people will come into the city and shop. The easier we make it for them, the better it will be. And it's just been a failure.
Historically, this highway was built in the 50s, and it became a terrible barrier between East and West. It's just been a tremendous eyesore, social, cultural, economic barrier problem in the city since the 50s, and so now we're going to try to do something about it. It's a cut and cap. The reason for that is what we're trying to do is narrow the right-of-way from 320 feet to 120 feet by putting the freeway through lanes below with limited access points. And then you eliminate the access roads entirely and you build a boulevard on top of the through lanes in the same footprint. So what you've achieved now is 100 feet on each side of the freeway for 1 mile equals 30 acres of new urban land. We've produced the ideas and the drawings. We're getting tremendous community support. The traction is, I can't believe the traction we're getting. In the meantime, TxDOT, which is our DOT, started out ignoring us and then started out trying to discredit us, and now they're coming to us and trying to compromise. And so it's a model that could probably be used in many other cities.
So here we are at Octavia Boulevard, at the corner of Octavia and Market Streets. So if you can picture it, there was a double-deck freeway right where we're standing now. The design of this boulevard incorporates a lot of traffic calming. It was designed to carry a large volume of traffic, but to carry it in a way that wouldn't kill the life of the neighborhood. So what you can see behind us are 2 lanes, kind of on the narrow side. It's encouraging traffic to go at the speed limit. There's medians planted with trees in the center. Then the median that we're standing on actually separates these side lanes from the main road. So the idea is the through traffic's on this road, but the road over here accommodates bicyclists, it accommodates people parking, and it also is an extension of the pedestrian realm. This is part of the buffer that really helps protect these houses and churches and this dense residential neighborhood from the impact of having all of this traffic.
Not only was it cheaper for the State Department of Transportation and the City and County of San Francisco to replace that double-decker freeway with a surface boulevard, but both the state and the city made a fortune off of the sale of land, even in the first year of the project.
New commercial development, new jobs, and new tax base followed where the freeway used to be. And so locally, there's that regenerative aspect.
One of the things that sometimes gets left off the table on this highway removal discussion is the role of the local community and community activists from around the neighborhoods where these highways exist. And we have a great example in New York City of the Sheridan Expressway. This has been an effort over, it's going well over a decade now to remove the Sheridan Expressway. And the people who are really driving this effort are the local community people. They are the ones who are forcing the issue, and they're willing to show up to meetings and hold signs in front of, a city council member's office and, make noise at a city planning hearing. And this is a critical part of any highway removal project. You need a local community that cares about this.
Any roadway must keep pace with the changing character of its community. Dream big and act boldly.
In every example that we've looked at, the removal of the freeway actually enhances access for everybody, both local and the through access. So it's not an either-or proposition.
Some people may be living with that expressway and they're just living with it. They don't know there's an option. So once you start talking to them about what this community looked like before this expressway went up, what the opportunities are to reconnect the community, you give people a different vision.
So we have to make a decision whether we're moving towards this boulevard concept that can recapture value in our city, or if we're just reinvesting in this mistake that was recognized 50 years ago.